Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ger Ryan, and you're very welcome to this Getting Cows breeding webinar, which we feel is very timely with the breeding season happening in different parts of the country within the next 6 weeks. Tonight is a joint webinar between Dovea Genetics and Interchem. Interchem are an Irish company with over 50 years experience in supplying the agri and veterinary industry. Interchem has a variety of supports available to veterinary practices and offers research-based veterinary and animal health products to the Irish market. To let you know what the plan is for the next 60 minutes is that we have 4 very, very good speakers. They will all each speak for a maximum of 10 minutes each. After each speaker, we'll take one quick question while we get the next speaker set up. So if you have any questions, please free to put them into the chat room. You're more than welcome to put in your name and your area if you so wish. So any questions, put them into the chat room and we'll try and give them to the relevant speakers on the night. So without further ado, our first speaker tonight is Dr. Federico Randi. He's a qualified cattle vet and completed his PhD at UCD, working on a collaborative project with Chagas. He completed an extensive study on fixed time AI in suckler cows and dairy cows throughout Ireland. His studies have been developed into recommendations in industry, and he continues his research today through CEVA in France, looking at ways to improve sex semen usage, embryo transfer, and fertility performance in Ireland. Federico delivers technical support throughout the world on bovine fertility. And tonight, he's going to give us a talk on updates on use of sex semen in dairy herds, with a particular focus on synchronization protocols for both cows and heifers. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Federico.
Thank you very much, Ger. I'm going to start now sharing the screen and just let me know that if you can see it. And so it's a great pleasure to be with you this evening. And as Ger was saying, tonight I will try to give you a brief, let's say, summary of the latest informations that were generated with Irish studies on the use of sex semen in dairy herds. Now, one of the most recent studies being performed by Chagas in 2018, looking at the use of sex semen across 142 herds using 7,000 artificial insemination were performed in that study, and the cows were inseminated on the basis of spontaneous heat. They will use only animal cows for first AI, parity 1 to 3, at least 60 days calf with a body condition score equal or higher than 3. So we're talking about really the most fertile cows that are present on the farm at the beginning of the breeding season.
Federico, you want to move to the next slide, yeah?
Yes, I did.
Oh, it might not be moving. Can you click down again, yeah? Are you on the second one?
Yes, I am.
Try one more time, sorry. It was just still on the opening slide there.
Sorry about it.
No, perfect.
Can you see it now?
I can see it. Try moving to the next one.
This
Yeah,
one?
perfect.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you, Lauren. So this is just the summary that I was presenting without, unfortunately, scrolling through the slide. But then the results achieved with that study, again, 7,000 artificial insemination, 142 herds. The conception rate achieved with conventional semen was 59.9%. With sex semen was achieved at 45.5%, talking about a relative conception rate of sexed versus conventional of 76%. But looking more into the details of that particular study, 1/3 of the herds outperformed the average quite a bit, where they had a performance of sex semen over the conventional one to be above 90%. And some farms, what you see here, some herds actually had more than 100% of the performance achieved with conventional semen. So one of the questions that was raised by the researchers here, could it be a management-derived outcome? So to speak, was something done in those specific herds done differently of what was done on the other herds that allowed them to get such a relevant, say, such an increase in conception rate when they were using sex semen? And one of the particular things that we wanted to look on the following year was related to the time of AI. So in order to have a more consistent type of approach, in the follow-up study, the cows were not inseminated on the basis of heat expression, but they were inseminated on the basis of fixed time AI protocol. And particularly what was looked was at the time of AI and the relevance of changing the time of AI and the performance achieved with sex semen. In that study, we used 2,200 cows, 24 spring calving herds. The cows were divided in 3 even groups, and each farm received 100 straws. These 100 straws were a third of them conventional semen, and the 2/3 of the straws were sex semen. When you look at the 3 treatments that were used, okay, it was using a progesterone-based synchronization program. On day 0, cows received an injection of GnRH and a progesterone device was introduced. At day 7, a first injection of prostaglandin was administered. The following morning, on day 8, a second injection of prostaglandin was injected in the cows, and then the progesterone device was removed. 32 hours later, so the evening of the following day, the cows received GnRH, and the first third of animals, the first 700 cows, were inseminated with conventional semen. The second treatment, or the second group of cows, received the same synchronization protocol, but instead of using conventional semen, we were using sex semen. The third group of cows here at a different timing of AI. So instead of inseminating on the morning of day 10, these animals were inseminated 6 hours later, so in the afternoon of day 10, so 22 hours from the GnRH injection. Looking at the results of the conception achieved with this type of protocol, so conventional semen reached 61% conception rate. The first treatment at conventional timing, but using sex semen, was 49%, and the third treatment with the delayed artificial insemination arrived at 51%. So looking at the relative conception rate of these 2 different sex semen groups, there was about 80% and 84% of the performance of conventional semen in this case. Now, the second chapter of this research looked more at the mating effort. So then looking at the performance of using sex semen in dairy heifers. And we asked ourselves the same concept. Is it important to change the timing of artificial insemination, so to speak, postpone and delay the timing of artificial insemination when we're breeding dairy heifers? Now, for heifers, we use a different type of protocol of what you've seen on the cows. So instead of being an 8-day progesterone-based protocol, is a 6-day. So on day 0, you start the protocol with GnRH and the progesterone introduction. On day 5, there is the first prostaglandin injection. On day 6, the progesterone device is removed and the second injection of prostaglandin is administered. And then, 48 hours later, the heifer received sex semen in combination with an injection of GnRH. The second group of animals received artificial insemination 8 hours after the GnRH injection. In total, there were 816 heifers. And again, the trial was focusing on the importance of the relevance of delaying or not the time of AI of 8 hours. Looking at the results that have just been accepted for publication, there was an increase of 9% by the delay of artificial insemination of those 8 hours in in the synchronized heifers. So at the end, giving the timing of AI to be postponed of 8 hours brought the artificial insemination from 50%, the conception rate achieved, from 50% to 59%. So getting into the conclusions, progesterone-based synchronization programs for time AI can be used to facilitate the use of sex semen in Irish scenario, in Irish conditions. For dairy cows, the time of AI, it can be quite flexible. You know, you can be breeding animals between 16 or 22 hours. We didn't see a statistical difference there. For dairy heifers, there was a significant increase by postponing the artificial insemination of 8 hours from the conventional timing, which is normally done 48 hours after the device removal. We should keep in mind that sex semen is a fragile product and needs to be carefully managed. When we say this, is say we need to also put the AI technicians in the condition to be able to perform ESAIs in the most effective way. So have the animals set up to be ready for him, allowing to inseminate the animals in a short time frame from when he's throwing the AI straw and when he's going to be capable of easily depositing into the common body of the uterus of the cow or the heifer that has to be inseminated. With that, thank you very much for your attention. I'll be happy to try to answer any questions you might have.
Informative presentation. We have a question here from Popiolek in South Tipperary. Many vets are now using 2 shots per prostaglandin at the end of period. What are the advantages of this?
So thanks. When we started the protocols, we were using single shot of prostaglandin. Now, moving from those studies, we've been using thousands of cows in the past to the use of double shot of prostaglandin. We have increased conception rate of about 5%. So there is an advantage on increasing the efficacy of those protocols, having added this second shot of prostaglandin.
Okay, thank you. We have a couple more questions after coming in, Federico, but we might just leave them until the end. So what we'll do now is move on to our second speaker tonight. And our second speaker tonight is Dr. Lauren Popiolek. She's Interchem's technical support vet. She earned her Bachelor of Science in Agriculture in Animal Science, Dairy Science and Biological Sciences from University of Georgia, where she worked in bovine reproduction, completing embryo transfer research. Following her degree, Lauren earned her degree in veterinary medicine from Louisiana State University School of Veterinary Medicine. She's over 13 years of clinical practice experience practicing in both the United States and United Kingdom. Lauren supports Irish vets with technical training with Interchem. And the title of her presentation tonight is Why Synchronization Is It For Me? So over to you, Lauren.
Thank you so much, Chair. I think everyone can see me there. So again, thank you, Federico. And I just want to go over some of the kind of details of syncing and why we would choose to do it, the program, which Federico just went over with us. So when we talk about syncing, there are some main advantages that we're going to see. Okay, so obviously the first one is that we're inseminating at a fixed time. So I don't care if they're bulling or they're not bulling. And the point is that you don't need to induce estrus detection because we don't need to use any estrus detection. And that's because we're using the hormones to mimic the natural cycle, control and force ovulation at a specific time. So we know then when to inseminate and we don't need to see them bullying or they don't even need to display that behavior. So you're going to avoid the cost of a missed estrus, which is over €100 per cow if you miss it, estimated by Chagas. The majority of cows, over 50%, are going to have that onset of standing heat overnight. So again, if you're out there observing, you're going to likely miss the onset. And over 55% of cows are in heat for less than 8 hours. So unless you're doing it at least 5 times a day, you're missing those estruses. And again, we'll reduce our labor of a minimum of 3 times a day. So it's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of effort from being out there and having to observe your herd. And the next thing, and what I consider one of the best advantages of fixed time AI or syncing, is that we can advance our service and our submission. So instead of waiting a 21-day cycle for each cow or each heifer to come into heat, we're going to be able to force them and plan to get all of our submissions and all of our services done on our mating start date. So again, here in Ireland on our seasonal system, time costs us a lot of money and we really want to achieve that really tight 12-week calving pattern. So by doing so, we're going to be able to, again, advance them. And it's also then going to give us as well, of course, the advantage that we're able to get a second service in 3 weeks later. So in the first 3 weeks of our breeding season, we're going to be able to get 2 services in potentially if needed, which is really, really valuable for our system. Then on top of that, obviously with our seasonal pasture-based system, our replacement heifers will then be calving earlier in the season, particularly when we're using our sex semen at the beginning of the season. We're going to be able to get those replacement heifers, which will then give them more time to achieve achieve their body target weights and be cycling then in order for them to be bred 2 years later. And then obviously, logistically, we have that beautiful benefit of that single AI technician visit at a planned time. So we'll be able to call them, plan, know when we're getting them out there, and be able to concentrate our labor and our energy at that time. The last benefit is we'll be able to treat anestrus. So obviously there are many causes, and we do want to consult our vet to make sure we get veterinary advice. But by supplementing these hormones, we can treat a lot of anestrus conditions and get our cows cycling. And so again, instead of waiting and treating a lot of time for these conditions, if we're able to plan effectively, we're going to be able to manage some of these cyst-like conditions, shorten the calving interval to reinforce that seasonal calving, and focus our management of breeding and calving. And when you put these all together, we're going to be able to use our fixed time AI to increase our profitability. So this is what I really did want to draw to your attention, is that fixed time AI can result in more money in your pocket. So the figures I'm showing you there are a study by Donna Walsh. I have it cited there at the bottom. So this was a UCD study done with Irish figures, and they used a computer system of economic modeling. And what they did is they went in with some variables, and they used an 80 cow fixed herd, and they factored in a variety of costs. They factored in implicit costs, which are considered land and labor, which a lot of studies don't factor in. And then all of those explicit costs are money out of the pocket. So your fertilizer, your concentrate, your materials, and all of those go in. And then there are some fixed costs, such as the cost of the drugs and the herd size, again, which is estimated at 80 cows. And what they looked at is, what is the difference between breeding AI on estrus detection compared to using fixed time AI? Okay, and they used an 95% estrus detection rate, so a very good estrus detection rate with a 23% replacement rate. And what they were able to find is the profit advantage, or more money per cow per year, was achieved with fixed time AI. And that the first line there is conventional semen and heifers only. There was an extra nearly €4 per cow on average. If they use conventional semen in heifers and cows, you're achieving over €34 per cow over AI on observed heat. And then sex semen was €14 and 41.50. So you can see there your highest profit advantage average is able to be achieved on sex semen when you combine it in heifers and cows. And then I put the 95 percentile. So you're going to get huge variability, obviously. And, you can see kind of your best herds, what they're able to achieve. And you can see there's a massive potential for a lot of money in your pocket there, particularly when you're getting into sex semen, of over €100 more profit per cow that's available there. And so the question remains, how do I become that 95 percentile herd? I want to earn more money. And the answer from the study was the number one factor that impacted your ability to profit with fixed time AI is your fertility. So with your conventional semen, it's your pregnancy per AI, and with your sex semen, it's your relative conception rate. So how well did the sex semen perform relative to conventional semen? So again, if you optimize your fertility, you're going to optimize your profit. So the goal here is we always want to achieve that Chagas trial work that Federico went over there with you, which was shown with dairy cows, conventional semen 61%, sex semen 52%, and then your heifers, we're aiming for about 65 to 70%, and your sex semen achievable in that latest study was 59%. And we can achieve that, obviously. We need good fertility in our herd, so we need healthy cows, of course, but also you need to be using those optimal protocols that Federico presented to you. So skimming money by not using the second prostaglandin or not using the GnRH on day one, and using that high progesterone device that they used in the trial work are what you're going to use then to optimize your fertility rate, which will then optimize your profitability. So this study also found then after fertility, much after fertility, the other factors that influence the prices there were genetic gain, cull cow price, milk solid price, calf prices, concentrate price, and at the bottom there was fertilizer price. So the study was done in 2022 before fertilizer price really took a massive spike. So obviously, you would have some increased costs with the current price of fertilizer. However, it doesn't impact the cost as much as fertility does. So don't say that because fertilizer prices went up, I can't afford to do fixed time AI, because the reality is it's all the more reason to do fixed time AI to increase your potential profitability there. So how would you start syncing? And the first thing is are you a good candidate? Not every farm should potentially be syncing, because it's not an answer for poor fertility on your farm. If you have poor fertility, you need to go back to your vet, and you need to be looking at your herd health and your management factors and what is impacting your fertility rates and fix those problems. So you need to be looking at nutrition. And I did put up our bolus range here that we have, because trace minerals are important, again, to immunity and optimizing your fertility. So do look at that, as well as obviously your pasture and your silage and your dry cow management. Fresh cow diseases. So look at your retained membranes. Look at, of course, your metritis cases and manage those with your vet with pre-weeding scans. Look at your infectious diseases, your vaccination protocols, and of course your hygiene on your farm, and make sure that you have the facilities that are adequate to work that many cows into a fixed time AI protocol. And then you want to just prevent and manage those issues first. So one of the problems I do find is there's not adequate record keeping on farm. So it's very hard to assess your fertility when you don't know what your fertility rates are and you don't know what your fresh cow disease rate are. You really do need to be recording the incidence of diseases on your farm, what your conception rates are, what you're doing, what your potential estrus detection rates are, so that you can really pinpoint what the problems are to then solve the problem. And I do think record keeping is a big piece of that, but also getting your vet involved in pre-breeding scans to deal with those reproductive issues before the mating start date, so that you can optimize fertility with your fixed time AI is very critical. And then the next thing is obviously plan, and then go back and please plan some more. So know your mating start date and have your heifers and cows ready to go on the mating start date. So you do need to be doing estrus detection on your farm at least 6 weeks before mating start date. And, using your tail paints or your scratch cards or your collars, if you have them, to be looking to make sure your cows are cycling. And if they're not cycling, you need to get the vet out, and they need to be assessing and managing these anestrus cows and screening and all scanning them for uterine disease. So that gives you enough time to manage them appropriately, get them cycling to optimize your fertility rates when you do go in to sync them and start your breeding season. And also any of your cows that are 2.5 or less body condition score do need to be managed. I do think they need to go down. You need to be looking at your ration and nutrition, as well as you do need to probably be moving them down to once daily milking, and doing that for at least a month through the fertility season in order to optimize their fertility. It's very important to have a really good relationship with your AI company, and the AI company should be working with both the vet and the client. And it's very important to schedule them in advance, especially it's again, the benefit of using synchronization and fixed time AI is that you're able, when you want to do it. So call them, get them scheduled, and make sure that they're available and that you have it all planned out. Just then work your program backwards. And we do have these sheets available for you where you can, know when your AI day is, and you can work backward and write in the time into your sheet that you need to be doing, and making sure that you don't make any errors. You want to have enough hands on the ground the day of insemination. So get your helpers out. If you have more than, 40 heifers or cows, break them into groups, because particularly when you're working with sex semen, it's a very fragile product, and you want to be working quickly. And you don't want to be out there for 2, 3, 4 hours, working through your insemination. You want to have good hygiene. All your facilities should be in working order. So again, it's a safety issue, both for your AI technician as well as yourself when you're working this many animals quickly, to have everything in order. And make sure your protocols are correct. Go back to your vet, make sure that you're happy and you're using these protocols with optimized fertility, and that the instructions are clear, your bottles are labeled, and that you don't make any costly errors. Because once you make and you give the wrong injection, or if you pull things, your device too early or late, there can be consequences from that. So, make sure that you're doing everything correctly, because prevention is obviously better than dealing with reduced conception rates. So with that, I'll just say thank you. And if there's any questions at this time on my bit, please let me know.
Thank you very much, Lauren, for some very good tips, good advice, and I suppose a good overview of the economics of synchronization. I have one question in here. There's no name or with it, but I think it's quite a useful question. Will the cost of synchronization prescription products from the vet impact the profitability?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, the short answer is yes, everything potentially impacts profitability, but the economic modeling study that I showed there, am I still sharing my screen? I might just share it again there. I do have some pictures. Share. They estimated at 41 euros per cow. So the cost from your vet currently is usually coming in between 35 and 40 euros. There we go. And those were the figures I gave you there in the middle column. So because this wasn't a flexible variable in the study, they ran the model through on the computer with 10 euros less. So coming in at 31, and you can see you do earn more money, but you don't necessarily earn 10 euros more per animal. And similarly, if the costs go up over 50 euros, it's still profitable endeavor, albeit, you know, less profitable, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're losing that amount per cow. So compared to other sensitivities like fertility, for example, it's going to be not have as strong of an impact on your profit advantage over estrus detection. So I would say that yes, it does impact, but not as much as you think. So it is worth spending the money on the right protocol and the right injections and the highest progesterone device then to get in there and do it correctly to then go forward and maximize your profit.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. I have one other excellent question, but I'm going to leave it until the panel discussion at the very end.
Sounds good.
My next speaker tonight is Niall Duffy. Niall, on my right, is the Dairy Program Manager for Dovea Genetics. Niall is going to give an update on the latest calving proofs that we've received from ICBF on Tuesday evening and the latest DBI proofs. So I think what he'll give is the latest update information on easy calving bulls and some individual bulls from the dairy side of Dovea Genetics. So without further ado, over to you, Niall.
Good evening, everyone. Niall Duffy here. I work on the dairy program at Dovea Genetics. Thank you very much for joining us here. Tonight, my presentation is going to look at a small update on our own breeding program here at Dovea. Then we're going to focus on the updated breeding values from the March evaluation, and finally take a look at some individual bulls throughout the catalogue. The first thing is to, I suppose, summarise what we're about here at Dovea on the breeding program. We're looking for well-balanced bulls that have high kilo milk solids above 30 with well-blended percentages. We also take a look at the bull dam, and we're looking for that ideal production with good high percentages as well, with their ideal reproductive performance. That's just a little update there on what we're looking at in the young bulls. Moving on to the tables, I think the first table that we look at is the easy calving table, and update you on some of last year's sires that are now suitable for heifers. I suppose the parameters that are important for this table is calving difficulty on heifers. We're looking for bulls that have a score under 5.5% with a reliability of over 80%. The first bull there that now is a calving proof is Old Castletown Casper. Casper, an EBI of 387, a pedigree bull. He's very easy calving at 3.97%. at over 80% reliability. Riverside Pivotal was suitable last year, as was St. Bridget Frank Joseph. Another new bull is Clonlahy Boy. Clonlahy Boy is 4.57% with 83% reliability. The next new bull that's suitable for heifers is Ballantossic Mr. Man, and Mr. Man is just 5.32% with 87% reliability. Other bulls that are also suitable from last year are Broad, and of course Roland, the Norwegian Red Bull, and Glenboy Ronald. The second table we're going to look at is the high EBI table, and this is our top 10 bulls listed based on EBI, and I think it shows exactly what we're looking for in terms of the bull. And if we take a look at the average of the top 10, it's 380 with a milk subindex of 110, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that milk subindex over 100. The fertility is 182, the carbon is 12, the maintenance is 12, and the health is 12. If we focus more in on the production breeding values, the overall kilo of milk solids is 31 of that top EBI 10 team, 31 kgs, with plus 0.2% protein and plus 0.33% fat, with a milk kg at 10. So it just shows you what we're looking for. those high kilo of milk solids through high percentages. Now we're going to take a look at some individual bulls throughout the catalogue, and we'll start with Ballantossic Mr. Man. Mr. Man has an EBI now of 316, 125 milk subindex with 119 fertility. There are 10-year maintenance in Mr. Man and 10-year health as well. Mr. Man brings 35 kilo of milk solids with 80 kilos of milk, plus 0.28% fat, plus 0.22% protein. So Mr. Man shows great balance in his index. The dam is also 4% from the famous Amber family. She's a medium-sized cow, and Mr. Man is also available sexed, suitable for heifers. The calves so far from Mr. Man are square, and in his linear he's positive chest and north width. The next bull we're going to look at is Old Castletown Casper. Casper's seen a great rise in his EBI and he's now 387. The milk subindex is 101, fertility 186, so great fertility. Casper's 29 kilos of milk solids, minus 10 kg of milk, but really Champions League component percentages at plus 0.32% fat, plus 0.19% protein. So Casper's the highest EBI bull on the active bull list with the milk subindex over 100. He's now ranked number 3 on the active bull list. His mother is a Sebastian cow with 4.25% protein, so great protein built into that line of cows there. Casper is also very suitable, as we mentioned, for heifers. He's bringing 3.97% calving difficulty, so really easy calving and a great option for almost any heifer. The next bull we're going to look at is Clonlahi Boy. Clonlahi Boy is one of our highest milk subindex bulls with 130. Brings 39 kilos of milk solids at 141 kg of milk, plus 0.33% fat and 18% protein. Overall EBI at 330, and the dam very impressively delivered 530 kilos of milk solids, just under 6,000 litres at 4% protein. She's now in her third lactation and working really well within the herd. Clonlahi Boy is also one of our easy calving sires for this year and is suitable for heifers and available sexed. The next bull we're going to take a look at is Brandy Star. Brandy Star is our highest EBI bull at 400. He's also the highest pedigree bull in Ireland at the moment. Nice, really well blended bull, good health, good maintenance, positive in all the production traits, and 27 kgs of milk solids. Also incorporates some outcross genetics. The dam is a VG86 cow. She's now in her 7th lactation, 3.9 protein, 5.1 fat. The bull is also black with 4 white socks. Moving on to Ballantossic Star Trek. Star Trek brings an EBI of 370, milk subindex 124, and fertility 183. Star Trek really is a super bull for the production because he's bringing 35 kg of milk solids, plus 0.41% fat, plus 0.22% protein. Really good production and milk solids improver. 0 kg of milk, so if you want to keep your milk the same, or you're happy with the output of a type of cow, it's just going to keep it the same. The bull himself is a really strong, powerful bull, and he's a great bull to add strength. Very well bred from the great Amber family again that we've seen earlier on with Mr. Man. The dam has completed 577 kg of milk solids in the first lactation at 5% fat, 4% protein. Another easy calving bull, Born Garrett Broad, an EBI of 300, production index of 108 and fertility of 119. A bit of milk with Broad at 110 kgs of milk, 0.19 fat, 0.18 protein. The dam, she's now in her 8th lactation, a real good long-lasting cow. Longevity's built in there. The earliest Broads are now heading to the bull. They're lovely square cattle, nice and clean, a lot of black through them, and promising others. Broad is, as we mentioned, easy calving and is available sex, suitable for heifers. Another exciting young bull from this year is Glenaboy Hero. He's an outcross protein improver, 30 kilos of milk solids, 0.24% protein, 0.38% fat. Hero's a great bull to improve strength and add round rib to cows while also improving the udder. The mother is an EX90 cow, and her average for protein across her lifetime is 4.25. The last of the bulls from the components section of the catalogue is Barnestown Roger. Roger's a Frank Joseph son. Frank Joseph's doing really well. Daughters are very correct. But Roger's an EBI of 378, very high EBI son. He's bringing 30 kilos of solids, plus 0.21% protein, 0.39% fat. The first bull I'd like to cover in the maintenance and components section of the catalogue is Barrackhill Reuben. Reuben's number 9 on the active bull list, and it's a high proportion of Frisian in his pedigree with 35%. A nice balanced bull all round. He's available sexed, and there's great longevity behind Reuben, very well bred. The dam is now in her 11th lactation and has completed almost 75 tonnes of milk so far. Another interesting bull from the maintenance section is Gleninnan Jerry. Jerry's an EBI of 385. Outstanding maintenance of 29, Euro maintenance, 29 kilo of milk solids, 0.26% protein and 0.4% fat. Really good high maintenance bull with high solids. Just going to take a look at the updated breeding values of 2 daughter proven bulls. The first is Scott of Nart. Scott of Nart, he's just a great daughter proof, a really good bull to improve percentages and kilo milk solids, giving a great lift in almost all the daughters. The index is 35 kgs improvement at plus 0.23% protein, plus 0.35% fat. So just he's out in his own there in terms of what he can do to the daughters. Great farmer satisfaction, nice udders, very correct with good health. The other bull that we have, of course, daughter proven now is Glennaboy Ronald. 700 daughters now milking, great farmer satisfaction, and they also lifts the protein by plus 0.2 as well. And, you know, a really good option there for heifers if you're looking to improve their percentage solids. A quick update on the British Frisian. We've got 4 new bulls in the catalogue this year. Ferrylawn Bernard, he's available sexed, a high component Frisian bull from a nice milky, small type, medium sized cow. We've got 2 other new bulls from a VML cow, XL92, now on our 11th lactation with an average of 3.76 protein. 2 really well-bred bulls, along with the Kilsunny bull, who's also bringing in them Dutch bloodlines and is also quite outcross. Finally, to finish off, a quick mention about our coloured breed catalogue, which contains all the red breeds we're working with. A quick mention there to the Norwegian Reds, who have EBIs quite high at up to 287 on the Roan bull, who's available sex and also suitable for heifers and very easy calving. Another high protein Norwegian Red bull would be Crowval, who is also available sex at 0.14% protein. For the production and type catalogue, it's also available, and there's a new addition there, Top Model. Top Model is a highly proven German bull with great linear type, good fertility, and nice positive components along with extra production there. So that's the conclusion of tonight's presentation from me. I'd like to thank you very much for listening and joining us, and wish you all the best throughout the upcoming breeding season. Thank you.
Thank you, Niall, for a very, very quick overview of a lot of bulls, a lot of information. So thank you very, very much. An excellent question in here from Tony in Mallow, County Cork. I'm in band 3 and wish to move to band 2. What should I look for in my bull selection for this year?
Yeah, we're hearing a lot about the bands there this past couple of months. I suppose the aim for Tony is to increase the value per litre of milk that's sold going forward in the future. So what I would be saying is to use bulls maybe over 30 kg of milk solids with a PTA of over plus 0.2% for protein, and maybe look at using bulls that are from 4% protein cows, and that should increase the value of the milk that's coming, that Tony's sending to the factory.
What should I look for in terms of milk kgs now?
So your milk kgs, you try and keep that between minus 50 and 50 and try and get the maximum solids you can from that.
Okay, thank you. I have another very good question, but I'm going to leave it until to the end. My next speaker tonight on my left is my colleague, John Lynch. John is the beef program manager for Dovea Genetics. And I suppose two things are topical at the moment. One is sex semen, which we've covered already. But I suppose the other topic at the moment in everyone's lips is dairy beef, and what dairy beef bulls should I pick from my dairy herd. So I'm going to hand it over to John, and he's going to give an overview of the latest information we have on our dairy beef bulls.
Okay, folks, John Lynch is my name. I'm going to discuss dairy beef sires and I suppose selecting the correct sire for your dairy cows this spring. With a new run of figures on Tuesday, and I suppose we have the #1 beef bull of all breeds in the active dairy beef list. So that's Kill Prime Lad. I'll cover him later, but I suppose thankfully with the #1 Belgian Blue commercially available, the #1 Limousin, #1 Sire, bulls are performing very, very well in that active bull list. So to kick proceedings off, I suppose I'm going to divide the breeding decisions into two, early in the season breeding decisions and then the later breeding decisions. So to kick off the early decisions, I suppose with the use of sex semen, we're going to see a lot more beef being used, and we're going to see a lot more beef calves being born in February each year from now on. So I suppose just to start off, I suppose with the obvious choice there, probably Belgian Blue, Bricolage de Beaufort BB4494. He's the #1 bull available commercially on DBI. He's 130 DBI, 7% calving difficulty, short gestation of 283 days, and carcass weight around 28 kilos. So I suppose he ticks the boxes. Lovely calf quality. Calves are born, no big issues. And I suppose anyone using blues in the first couple of weeks of the calving season won't get any hassle around. The second Belgian Blue bull I will cover is a bull called a Foot, BB4597. A little bit stronger in calving, so he's around 9.5% calving difficulty in dairy cows, but very, very short gestation. So 282-day gestation length, and he's slightly better on carcass than Bricolage at 32 kilos. I suppose a Foot, I'd be using him on the more mature cows that are capable of calving a better type bull, and I'd be using Bricolage on the younger cows that you'd like to use Belgian Blue. The second breed is Limousin, Edenvale Ivor and Brooklands Marco, two very, very usable bulls. Ivor is the #1 Limousin bull available in DBI, very, very well proven at this stage in dairy cows, incredibly easy calved at 3.7%, 288-day gestation, but super carcasses, excellent thriving cattle. Anybody that's killing them from dairy cows is really, really happy, and he's on most breeding lists again this year. Marco is maybe a slightly different bull, slightly stronger on the calving at 5.3%. Excellent calf quality. Gestation is the very same as Ivor at 288 days. And I suppose that's where I see the use for these bulls early in the breeding season. First 3 weeks, that extra few days is not going to crucify you. Okay? I will cover one Charlie bull, Love P. He's a new pole bull. We've seen him in from France. Easy calving, he's 7%, same as the blues roughly, and his gestation is around 287 days. So any that might remember Bivouac, this we feel is a replacement for Bivouac, Love P. So he's a pole Charlie bull, high DBI, one of the top bulls in the country, Charlie bulls available in DBI, and he's a whopping 43 kilos of carcass without being extreme calving. Okay, folks, so I suppose going back to the other breeds available for use early in the season, we're talking about Angus, Hereford, Aubrac, and I suppose there's huge variation in the Angus breed. The two bulls I would be suggesting for use early in the season, probably my first choice is Thursmead Karma. Huge carcass figures of 16.5 kilos. Calving difficulty is super at 2.8% for dairy cows. His overall DBI is 135, so very, very respectable. And he's 284-day gestation. So I will be covering the shorter gestation Angus's later. But him and a bull called Listoff Red Pepper, a DBI 149, 14.5 kilos of carcass, and again 3% calving on dairy cows. So that's two Angus bulls averaging over 15 kilos of carcass, averaging under 3% calving. Definitely an option for early in your calving season to produce very, very good calves. Okay, two Hereford bulls, same story. Fruitful, Skihanamore Fruitful HE7545 is a new Hereford bull that's only newly becoming proven. We got his updated calving and gestation figures on Tuesday. 3% calving difficulty with 15 kilos of carcass, and his gestation is unbelievably short for Hereford. His initial reports would suggest it's 280 days gestation. I have seen plenty calves, and they're very good quality calves. So he's fruitful. He's an overall DBI of 144, okay? And the other fella is an easy calf in Hereford bull, Hercules, HE7374, heterozygous polled, 2.8% calving difficulty. So that's kind of magic figure. Again, 12 kilos of carcass, high DBI, and very saleable calves. Okay, excellent report for calves. The All-Black bull of choice this year is a bull card called Deer Park Row, AU8953, Sky High DBI 183, predicted easy calving. He's only a young bull and a carcass figure of almost 22 kilos. Farmers that use All-Black are very happy, and I think possibly will use more All-Black going forward. I suppose I'm going to move on to two topics now: the later half of the breeding season and a new concept in Dovea last year, triple mixed bulls. Okay, we have 3 Angus bulls. They're the first 3 bulls in our dairy beef catalogue. I think the number 1 DBI sire available in the active bull list, Kill Prime Lad, AA4743. He's the top bull in DBI at 180 euros. Okay. He's 280 days gestation and 2% calving difficulty in dairy cows. He's the number 1 Angus bull available for dairy heifers, and we would suggest that is his real place. So his gestation, calving ease is incredible, and the cattle finish very, very quick off grass. Excellent calf quality. The other 2 bulls, Killen McCann Philip, AA5217, and Stockman, AA7188, are actually shorter gestation than Prime Lad. Both bulls coming in at an incredible 279-day gestation, and both of them 7 kilos of carcass and 4 kilos of carcass, okay? Both of them under 3% on dairy cows and high DBI. So, just to recap, later on in the season, 3 Angus bulls there, under 280 day gestation, but use very, very nice quality calves, high DBI sires, okay? The triple mix or the triple range was launched this time last year. It's a success story. Dairy farmers are very happy with the results from the triple mix. We have an Angus triple mix, a Belgian Blue triple mix, and a Limousin triple mix. Large field studies have shown that there's somewhere between 5 and 7% improved conception with using triple mix. And even speaking to some Irish farmers, maybe feel that they did get better conception than that even. There is lots of it available. One pack is Hersby, Karma, Philip, and Leonardo, and the blue pack is and the Beaufort bull I didn't mention because he's usually popular anyway, 4438, Rathblind, Olaf, a new Belgian blue sire, and a Flute the T1 4597 I spoke about already. Okay folks, just to conclude on what we've covered, I think the message is to make more informed breeding decisions, make better use of your earlier calvers by using higher carcass merit bulls, whether it's the likes of Karma, the Angus, or Fruitful, the Hereford, or Bricolage, or Ivor. So, and then later on in the season to watch gestation, maybe think about the triple mix, get more cows and calf. And I suppose just the last message, we're here on Dovea to help every way we can to help farmers to make more informed breeding decisions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John, for that very informative presentation. It's nice to see some young bulls become proven now and hopefully be used heavily over the next few months. We have a lot of good questions here, ladies and gentlemen. Keep them coming in through the chat box on Zoom. The first question is for you, Federico. I think it's probably the hardest question you're going to get, but I'm going to go through it in detail here. In heifers where the eye technician visits in the morning, are you better to inject GnRH in the evening before on an 8-day program, or stretch to a 9-day program, adding a day to prid removal, day 7? Give GnRH in the evening of day 8 and serve day 9 in the morning.
Thanks, Jer. So the situation is, from our side, it is somehow clear. I mean, we managed to achieve this increase in results with the 8 hours delay. Can we change things and get the same results confidently? My answer is going to be, I cannot tell you. So the idea is yours 8 hours, the window needs to be somehow maintained. So as it is an appointed time, we should be able to try to get to work around with the eye technician for that particular appointment to show either in the latest part of the morning to allow these 8 hours between GnRH injection and the timing of AI. Moving things around will not ensure you to achieve the results that we managed to get. So modifying the protocol like it was proposed, we cannot feel that we are controlling in the same way the Easter cycle like we're doing with the protocol that was designed in that way. So that is why the answer that I'm gonna give for it.
So your advice is talk to your AI technician,
right?
Don't modify the protocol.
And work backwards. I mean, find the timing where your AI technician can come in at any time that you can ensure that you're going to have that 8 hour gap. I mean, and then the synchronization can be initiated flexibly, but the AI time between the interval between GnRH and AI, it's not flexible anymore. So anything else can be started at a different time, organize yourself, organize it with your vet to allow to have your product there in time. But with your AI technician and the last very bit of the protocol, don't change it.
Okay, that's very good advice. A couple of comments on the chat where to get the protocols. Just to let you know that Dovea Genetics will put them up on our social media platforms tomorrow, which is the protocol for heifers and for cows. And Interchem, I imagine, is on your website. Would that be correct, Lauren or Federico?
Yes, I believe it is. Yeah, we have the protocols available for farmers.
Oh, yeah.
As well.
So if we to any of our either Interchem or Dovea Genetics social media platforms, the protocol for both cows and heifers that Federico spoke
We have cowsandcalf.ie as well as available for farmers that we run as well with those resources.
Perfect. Super. That's very good. The next question is for Niall. It's from Avril in North Tipperary. I have a British Frisian herd at home. I want to change over to using high EBI sires whilst keeping strength in my herd. What's your advice?
Thanks, Cher. Yeah, so the aim here is to increase solids while keeping the strength in the herd. So what I'd be suggesting is use bulls that have a positive chest and rump width PDAs, or else a 5 and a AAA, which you can see at the top of every bull. So the first bull I would probably recommend that's available with sex would be Mr. Man, positive chest and rump width. The next bull would be Barrakill Reuben, another sex bull, and he's 35% Frisian. Glenaby Ronald also is positive chest and rump width. And then from our young bulls, the new bull Star Trek, who's a 5 and his AAA up front. Really strong, powerful bull that's going to maintain that strength and bring the solids and those percentages that Davron's going to look for going down the line.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Niall.
All right.
Lauren, the next one is for you, and it's probably quite a very topical question at the moment. With a lot of people supposed to invest in automated heat detection systems, can you achieve the same conception rate with collars and breeding on heat?
I mean, the short answer is yes, you can. Like these collars are excellent health detection of devices. So they're going to help you identify sick cows, and the accelerometer part will then help you kind of narrow down which animals are in heat. Now, the critical part is you need to know the start of standing heat, and the accelerometer doesn't 100% always correlate with that. All right. So there's good evidence that a threefold increase in that accelerometer will correlate to heat, but it really should be triggering you to go out and actually observe that standing heat, because particularly on second or third services, you might, be off and you might even inseminate a pregnant cow potentially. So I would caution and say that, especially if you're using a valuable product like sex semen, your window is very narrow. You've got 14 to 20 hours from the start of standing heat. So if you haven't really confirmed and you're going off an accelerometer alone, I'm not sure, that I would personally still want to observe that standing heat. Where the real benefit comes in with fixed time AI is going to be the things I mentioned, as far as you're going to be able to advance that mating start date. So the real benefit that we're going to see is we're not waiting 21 days for the collars to act up and observe the standing heat, call your AI technician, come out. We're going to be able to condense our calving interval, get these guys bred quickly and get multiple services in early in the season in order to ensure and enhance our fertility that way. Logistically, you're going to be able to plan them. Your AI technician, you're not running and ringing them last minute, which is really crucial. And as well, of course, managing those anestrus cows. If they're not cycling, at least the accelerometer is going to tell you, but you're going to be waiting 3 weeks to find that information out, where with fixed time AI, you're hopefully picking that up with your accelerometer beforehand and then forcing them with the program to start cycling, which, no other program is going to. Hormones are the only thing you can do to manage a lot of those cases. So, the added advantages are in there. When you start talking about sex semen as well, again, it's that very narrow window. So fixed time is going to be able to enhance your fertility by controlling that narrow window and allowing us to be more precise. And you're not going to miss any dams. If your AI technician's coming out even twice a day, you're not going to hit that narrow window that she's available based on her standing heat. So if you really want to get certain heifers or certain cows, serviced with sex semen, fixed time AI is really the way to ensure that you're going to be able to service her with it.
Okay, thank you, Lauren, for a very comprehensive answer. Federico, another useful question for you. What are the differences in success levels between using synchronization in normal healthy cows with good fertility vis-a-vis using synchronization protocols in cows at the end of the breeding season that haven't been observed in heat? And I suppose that would have been where not that long ago people would have used synchronization. So I suppose, what are the differences, you think?
So thank you, Ger. So the idea of these programs are that what we are allowing is that the cow to express her own fertility in a time point when is the most profitable for the farmers and for herself to become pregnant. Now, spending the money to give a very last breath of possibility on a specific cow, like it's been done a lot in the past, bringing quite a level of frustration because the success of those cows to become pregnant is not so high. Like instead, finding a novel problem animals at the very beginning of the breeding season, either with pre-breeding histo detection or with the use of accelerometer, and treat them promptly, will allow these animals to have multiple chances of conception. So you invest the money at the beginning. If she's not getting pregnant there, she has a repeat heat and eventually a third possibility within the breeding season. So the very last cows and try to get those problematic animals and spend the money there, it's not your best investment, I would say, in general. The results there are not going to be, there's not a magic wand to fix that for sure. We're not switching infertile cows to be fertile and the other way around.
Okay, very good. Thank you. John, on the beef, very good questions coming in from Brendan in County Meath. I've 80 cows. I finish all my own cattle due to out farms. What advice would you give me to look for when selecting a bull?
I suppose if you're finishing all your own cattle, Jerry, you obviously want to be looking at the carcass weights. I suppose I covered most of those bulls, particularly early in the breeding season. And I suppose select your breed first, whether that be Limousin, Belgian Blue, Angus, Hereford. Depending on your system and depending what you want to do, I suppose it is feasible to put steers and heifers out at 21, 22 months. And if you're going to that system, to look at the more traditional breeds, the likes of that bull I covered, Karma, 16 kilos of carcass, 2.8% calving difficulty, and the Hereford bull, Fruitful. I mean, you're talking about two bulls over 15 kilos of carcass. I think there's a lot of talk out there at the minute about the beef sub-index. I think look at the carcass weight, look at the calving difficulty. And there's a lot of chat about using these bulls at 22 or 23 kilos of carcass. They are very extreme, and when they're tested and proven on dairy cows, they won't finish with that kilos of carcass. So I think the beauty about using Karma at 16 kgs is that he's proven, and the cattle on average are killing over 320 kilos dead of O pluses. So they're hitting spec, they're good weights for ages, and they're being killed young.
Okay, just as one final beef question here, John. It's from Mary in Skibbereen. I've been using traditional beef breeds on my dairy cows up to date. I was thinking of using some continental sires to increase my calf value. What should I look at?
I suppose the first thing, Mary, to look at is what level of calving difficulty you're happy with. You look at the continentals, you're kind of moving up between 4 and 7, 8, 9% calving difficulty, and that won't cause you an issue early in the calving season. I think that's when you can play around a bit with sires and pushing out the boat with regards to percentage calving difficulty. I would be saying the likes of bricolage, BB4494 is definitely an option for Mary, and even Vale Ivor 2014, the Limousin. Like, I mean, a dream to calve, 3.8% calving difficulty, super calf quality. But if you really want to push the boat out in calf revenue, probably Belgian Blue. But a good one of any breed is selling quite well this spring is very evident in the marketplace. Top Angus, top Hereford, top Blue, top Limousin, all are selling equally as good. I don't think there's anyone commanding an outrageous difference. But yeah, look, to use better bulls maybe within the breeds she's in is also an option for her.
Okay, thank you. Just a comment, Niall, Kevin from your own part of the world in County Cavan, sex semen availability. I haven't ordered my sex semen. What is sex semen availability? Just a brief comment I want.
Yeah, huge demand this year, JR, as you know. I think it's important that farmers, if they're interested in using it, get in touch with their area representatives and talk about the bull that they're interested in using and to get their orders in. Just make sure they're there.
Okay, thank you. Just before, I have two very good questions left. Just before I go on to those, just a couple of shout outs. Dovea Genetics were sponsoring a dairy show and sale in one of our local livestock markets in Mid-Tip Market in Thurles tomorrow. It's been organised by Hunt and Dial. They have a big entry of high EBI calved and in-calf heifers there. So just that's on tomorrow in Mid-Tip Market in Thurles. We've bought a number of bulls over the last couple of years from Andy Flavin in the Ballintossic herd. He's dispersing his herd in Corn Mart tomorrow week. For anyone I suppose who's looking at a potential bull dam, it might be a place to go. And just a bit of PR from our own company. We do provide a sire advice service. If you're interested, contact Marty Hayes. Call 0504 21755 and look for Marty, and he'll take you through the stuff. A question from Paul and Federico. I'll direct that to you. With sex semen for beef, and it's good to see that some beef people listening in tonight. With sex semen for beef, should I delay AI on observed heat, and when should I AI the cow?
Now, let's put it this way. When you have a time AI program, you control all the single steps. When we're working with estrus detection, we should be able to detect more or less the first standing behavior. By lower principle, it is correct. Like sex semen has been proven having a shorter lifespan into the reproductive tract of the cow, comparing the same bull in conventional situation. And so depositing the semen closer to the time of ovulation is an advantage to increase fertility. We need to be sure that we know when the cow started to show heat. Some farms that are really good at it, I would say absolutely yes. If you're capable of doing your heat detection work 4 or 5 times a day, yes, postpone your timing of AI if you're confident about this work, this knowledge with sex semen.
Okay, thank you very much, Federico. That concludes the questions part of this evening. Just before we finish up, just a couple of thank yous. I would like to thank, I suppose, the following people who've helped in organising tonight behind the scenes: Dara, Marty, Hannah, Eamon, Enda, and Sheena. Last but not least, Paul Kennedy from Interchem. I suppose our team, whether they're technicians or sales, and the same with Interchem, are here to help you over the next month to 6 weeks as we progress into the breeding season. So feel free to ask either any of the people in Interchem or any of the people in Dovea Genetics regarding synchronization from Interchem or regarding some of the breeding advice from Dovea Genetics. So without further ado, I'm going to close the meeting. Thank you very, very much. Our speakers, 4 excellent speakers who kept to their time and had very, very informative information in a short space of time. And thank you very, very much for listening in tonight. Good night.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Chair.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.